some of my campaign thought it would be useful to have an opportunity to hook up with the media and the Chinese community, and at the same time I was going to say hello to voters here at the Ruby restaurant, which I do most campaigns. I just walk to the restaurant, the ownership says it's okay, and I only stay for about 5 seconds, and I just say hello. So it's part of the campaign. So today there's an opportunity to speak with you or respond to you if you have questions. We're in the middle part of the campaign now. The campaign in my riding is going extremely well. I'm not able to explain why, except that our start prior to Christmas was stronger than it's ever been for me in this riding, and I've been here 17 years. But it's a campaign, it's a long one, and of course you all know that a campaign can turn around in a couple of days and go south or north. So I have no idea where we'll be at the end of the campaign, but in this riding I'm quite comfortable with the support of my electors so far. Now it's a winter campaign, and the real difficult part of the campaign is starting now. It started 2 days ago, and I'm hoping for a good result for me and my party, but that's up to the voters.
Derek, as you just said, you have been...
Okay, there's probably not time to go over 17 years, you can understand that. Aside from what the government has done, the tax measures, the ending the deficit, balancing the budget, improving programs, some of the things I'm very proud of for this particular riding. I just took note that last year, or for 2005, there was $1.5 million dispersed from the Millennium Scholarship Fund to students in my riding here in Scarborough. That's a huge amount of money for post-secondary education. I was very proud to be the person who led the effort to set aside a couple thousand acres of federal green space from the Pickering Airport lands and link them to the Rouge Valley lands. I sit on the Rouge Park Alliance, and I continue my work there to preserve and protect the Rouge Valley. That's a huge environmental issue. It's very complex, but I'm very proud of the work I've done there. I can mention some smaller things in relation to the Toronto Airport. I consider them significant. The administration of the airport, it's a non-governmental authority, but I collaborate in a number of ways with the airport authority in terms of the administration of the airport. And the current big issue there is the airport rents. And I'm one of those who believe the federal government has to adjust downward the amount of rent, the proportion of rent paid by the Toronto Airport. Right now, it's making the Toronto Airport less competitive in relation to other airports in North America. And we want to keep Toronto near the top in terms of an attractive destination or an attractive transfer point for travel to Asia, travel to Europe. And I'm working on that as well. Those are just a few of the things.
As you are...
The one big issue, which is not new, but which is politically high profile now, is the guns and violence issue. And while most of the statistics don't look very good, the fact is that the overall crime rates are decreasing, but we have a very serious problem with the gun violence. And there is also some good news there in that the police, the Toronto police, in collaborating with the Ontario and the RCMP, have actually made some real progress. And even as we speak, you know and I know, there are investigations going on, but the police can't talk about it. And maybe I shouldn't even talk about it, because we don't want to harm their ability to do the investigations. So it would be wrong to assume that the Toronto police are doing nothing now. That's one of the reasons why the meetings yesterday took place only between police officials and high-ranking bureaucrats who will maintain the confidentiality of the current initiative to deal with the gangs and the gun violence. Locally in Toronto, we have to begin reinvesting in programming for our youths. That reinvestment will have a payoff, not now, but 5 and 10 years from now. And we have to make sure that we're making the right investments to reduce the likelihood that young people will go into gangs and a life of crime. It's a complex issue. I could say more, but I won't unless you ask another question.
Hi, Derek. What's your standpoint about the lending fee for new immigrants?
Well, I am pleased that the Liberal government is going to remove the fee now. If you recall, an immigrant must pay an application fee, and if the application is accepted, a landing fee of about $975, I think it is. That landing fee was put in place to pay some of the costs of settlement for the new Canadians at the time when we were trying to get rid of the deficit. That was 10 years ago. Well, we've gotten rid of the deficit now, and while other countries also charge fees similar to that, the leading countries that take new immigrants, I'm talking about the United States and I'm talking about Australia and some of the other countries that like to have immigrants, we're going to abandon it now, and that's just fine. It's simply a financial issue, but it'll make it easier to attract new Canadians, and we have to make sure we continue to be an attractive place because our population domestically is not going to grow, and our growth population-wise in this big country is going to come from immigration. And so we have to keep up the immigration, both to keep our population growing and to be able to sustain what it costs for our social programs. Keep in mind all the post-war babies. I'm one of them. There's a large bulge of population that will be retiring soon, and they will live longer. They will probably live to age 80 and age 90. And somebody has to pay for that. The general population has to pay for some of that, the health care. So we have to grow, and we're the luckiest country in the world because we have a great immigration program. We have the ability to continue to grow, continue to pay for it, and to attract good immigrants. So lowering the landing fee is just great. We're actually not lowering it, we're removing it. We're removing it. Say that that's the time when the elected people do show up at the door. So that's true. If they don't read my quarterly reports, if they don't watch television and see me, I'm on most Fridays on national television, if they don't come to my office, if they don't attend the same community events that I go to, you're right, they're not going to see me. So I don't get paid to go to the door.
Okay, so
I don't.
If you win this election, if you win this election this time, what are you going to do?
17 years, represent them in Parliament.
Any other issues that like people will concern that?
Well, the one big issue, I mentioned it earlier, that needs some additional effort. The one big one is the guns, the violence, the youth. We have to make sure that our youth can easily, if they're able to go on to post-secondary education, that they receive training, that they have opportunity. Okay, that's for our future, all of us. So we have to make sure that that's properly done, and it's hard to do it from a federal perspective because community and social services is a provincial jurisdiction. So the federal government doesn't actually manage that envelope, that policy envelope. So we have to make sure that provinces, that we have agreements with provinces that permits that kind of investment. And luckily now the Ontario government has entered into a number of agreements with the federal government now. So have other provinces on childcare, early learning. These are examples. And now the new investments in our youth. So I have to work on that with all the other MPs from the urban areas to make sure that works well. There's one other area, it's not in the press now, but it should be. We had affirmative action hiring targets for visible minorities in the management level of the public service in Ottawa and across the country in the federal public service, and we failed to meet our targets. We failed miserably to meet our targets. So I am going to have to lead an effort with some other MPs to figure out why the Treasury Board and the Public Service has been unable to promote visible minority public servants into the management level. We have a reasonable level of representation in the general public service, but not at the management level. So we have a problem there. But you won't find that in the national press. But it's an issue for me. It's an issue for my constituents. This particular riding is about 75% visible minority. So they care about that. They care that if there are barriers to advancement in the public service, that those barriers will be reduced and gotten rid of. And so that's another thing I will be working on in the new parliament. Actually, 15, 16 years ago, introduced 2 private members' bills for redress on the head tax issue. They were not passed by Parliament, but they were debated. So I'm supportive of the current initiative, and if we go back to the main principles, okay, Canada and other countries were managing our immigration in a way that was not right based on current standards. But the world and Canada did a lot of things 100 years ago that we would not do today. For example, we hanged Louis Riel after the Riel Rebellion in about 1885. That was about the same time that we introduced the head tax. And so we don't apologize for hanging Louis Riel 100 some odd years ago. But we acknowledge that if it happened today, we would do it differently. And so in relation to the head tax issue, the Exclusion Act, we now have an agreement between the government and over 100 organizations, Chinese-Canadian organizations across the country, that agree that there will be money set aside for commemoration and acknowledgement and education on the head tax and Exclusion Act issue. And none of the money's been spent. We haven't even, the groups haven't even figured out exactly what it will be spent on. But that will allow us to publicly address the head tax and Exclusion Act issue. And, maybe there'll be a book written, maybe there'll be a film on it, maybe there'll be another film. I know there's already a good one on it. Maybe there will be a monument built. Maybe there'll be a speaker's program, but it will at least allow us to record our history, record what happened, record the unfortunate things that happened to some of the people who were discriminated against. And I'm happy to do that.
Let me show you a break.
Right now, there's an agreement in principle, and the cabinet has set aside the money. I think it's $25 million.
Okay, but the problem you mentioned that the agreement signed with the government do not really represent the payer, I mean the taxpayer.
Who does? I mean, I would say, who represents all the head tax payers, most of whom have passed away and are not alive anymore. Who would represent them?
Okay, so then actually there's a coalition which is established by the organization's requirement. The Jews just don't want to sit down and talk about it.
I don't think they were ignored, but if those groups, if the groups that you're describing wish to make a proposal to access the money that's been set aside, they should do that. They should make an application and they should participate in the planning for the expenditure of that money. They should do that.
Their requirement is for them to apologize.
Well, you'll have to ask the people who reached the agreement. When you get into the issue of apology, it's sometimes difficult to figure out who should be apologizing to who when something happened 100 years ago. I mean, who does anybody apologize to for something that happened 100 years ago? Will your newspaper apologize for something that happened 100 years ago?
There are still some hundreds of their descendants that are still living. So their families,
Yeah, but who should apologize?
the government.
Why? What? This happened 100 years ago. You mean the government of 100 years ago or the government now? But why would you look to this government?
That's not my apology. That's their from the organization. They just require. You've done something wrong. You should.
But I haven't myself.
So you say like the government.
By the time I was born, I want to say that by the time I was born, this issue did not exist anymore. Because the head tax was removed and the Exclusion Act was repealed. And that's true of everybody sitting around the table. So this is something that happened roughly, average 100 years ago.
So you said, you mentioned that it's like the wrongdoing is.
By current standards, by the way we run our lives now, we would not do it. But 100 years ago, I'm not so sure anyone then would have said it was wrong. I mean, you're trying to rewrite history here. Was the Russian Revolution wrong?
So
Was it right?
The First Nation.
When
is not the current government. Is not going to.
I don't know. All I know is that the agreement now provides for acknowledgement, commemoration, and education.
The First Nations, they got billion. So that's also a mistake happened by 100 years ago.
No, that's not mistake money.
Yeah.
That's payment based on treaties and the Constitution. The relationship with our Aboriginal communities is written into the Constitution and in treaties.
So you don't think
And we're still
that
making
is-
treaties.
So you don't think that is a wrongdoing?
The treaties? It's discriminatory. It was discriminatory. And we've had many things that are discriminatory. If you're a gay or lesbian, you will say that the prohibition of same-sex marriage was discriminatory. Now the courts have ruled that it was discriminatory. Is a gay or lesbian person going to come forward and ask for money because we discriminated 10 years ago? So it's discriminatory. You've asked me if it was wrong. I'm saying it based on current standards. It was discriminatory. Based on the standards of 100 years ago, it was quite legal, and that's the way things were done 100 years ago. But if we were doing it today, we would say it was wrong. And we're acknowledging. We've acknowledged that. And a person can actually say, geez, I am really sorry that we did it that way. But in history, we always look back and say, boy, I'm really sorry we did that, I did that, I did that. What if we hanged an innocent man? A century ago, Canada's policy was discriminatory to people who came from China. Now, we actually were probably discriminatory of other people too. There were probably other countries and other races that were discriminated against 100 years ago. We used to discriminate against blacks 100 years ago. You look puzzled. You look puzzled. But it's true.
Wrongdoing 100 years ago is still.
Yes. Well, no, not by current standards. 100 years ago, you would never have gotten anybody to agree that it was wrong.
So do you mean
And
the
it's just-
social value changed?
Yes, for sure.
But every day could be the yesterday. I mean, every day could be the yesterday. So all the people cannot change the yesterday, the history.
Well, let's just say that in our lifetime we have the ability to deal with such things. In our lifetime, a lady named Rosa Parks died about a month ago. That lady was arrested and charged and put in jail because she sat on the front of a bus in Alabama. All right? Now that lady, they could apologize to. She was still alive. You know? But she didn't sue anybody. She was discriminated against. And we agreed now that it was wrong 50 years ago to discriminate against her. It wasn't in Canada, it was in the United States. But it was wrong to do that. But if in that time, 50 years ago, in Alabama, you said, this is wrong, we can't do it, the government of Alabama said, hell no, this is what the law is, that's right. So things do change over time.
But it seems
Well,
that's reasonable. At
you
that
want the people of Canada to respond to something that happened 100 years ago. And what we've done now is we said, yes, we can respond by acknowledging what happened, saying what the facts were, commemorating it, and teaching it. Well, I can apologize. Are you willing to apologize as well?
You didn't.
No, will you apologize as well? Will you apologize?
You would.
I will.
You would
I will.
apologize for something you haven't done.
Exactly. You've made my point. So I'm prepared to say, I am sorry that that happened 100 years ago. I'm asking you, are you also prepared to say that you are sorry that it happened 100 years ago? I realize you weren't here, and you realize I wasn't here, and it was a different time. Are you prepared to apologize as well?
As a Canadian,
You're a Canadian.
a Chinese
You're a Canadian. Are you prepared to apologize? I know you had nothing to do with it, but I didn't have anything to do with it either, nor did Paul Martin. But are you willing to apologize as well? Yeah, well, I think you should, because it was wrong to do it based on current standards. Looking back, we did something that we would not do today, and so we say, well, it was wrong to do that. 100 years ago, we didn't let women vote. We discriminated against women. Should we apologize to women today for that 100 years ago? Should we? Should I apologize to women because we discriminated against women and didn't let them vote?
It's a shame of Canada for doing that.
It's a shame of every country
Yes.
because women didn't vote anywhere.
Yes, it would.
So you say it's a shame, but it's a...
legalized discrimination is a shame of Canadians.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And I agree.
So I
But that's not the way people felt 100 years ago. They feel that way now. And there are people in some countries who don't have the vote now they're discriminated against. In some other countries. That's a shame too. And so I'm just trying to make a point here. Because people have said,
it's not necessary to apologize.
well, you'll have to ask him the same reason that I would apologize, you know? It's just a general statement of saying, I'm sorry that what happened 100 years ago happened.
So that's what the meaning between the lines.
Well, I think you have to be careful about asking a government to do something which it is not in a position to do. You know, the government can acknowledge can put the facts down. We can record the history. But you can't do anything to fix what happened. You can't rewrite the First World War. Somebody made a decision to send millions of men to their death out of the trenches. Was that a shame? Was that a shame? I think that's a real shame. Maybe a bigger shame than charging a head tax to send millions and millions of men to their death in a war. So, should we apologize for having a war that killed millions and millions of men? Well, maybe, but why don't we just commemorate it, acknowledge it? It happened. It was bad. We wouldn't do it again now. I don't think we would do it again now.
So that won't be.
I wouldn't foreclose anything, but it's not clear to me why you're confused about my answer. However, if a simple "I'm sorry" will do, then I'll say I'm sorry. And any other person can do the same thing. If you're asking the government to do something, that's not an as in I'm sorry. That's the government taking an action. And I'm not so sure they have the ability to take such an action in law. And Parliament could do something. Parliament could express itself. I'm not so sure the Parliament would say, we, Parliament, are sorry. I'm not so sure the courts would say, we are sorry. But an individual can say it. And there are, you got to remember that there's lots of things we're sorry for here in history. We're sorry about a lot of things. We incarcerated Ukrainian Canadians, Italian Canadians. There's the incident of the Komagata Maru ship that was turned away in Vancouver. It was turned away on the discretion of immigration officials and sent back to India. Wouldn't let anybody get off the boat. There was that ship of Jewish refugees during the Second World War. It tried to come to Canada, tried to come to the USA, tried to go to Europe to get away from the Nazis. We didn't let it land. So, that's not a nice thing either. They were really refugees. But we didn't let the boat land. And so I'm sorry about that too. So lots of things a person could apologize for, even though I didn't do it. I wasn't even alive, nor were you. So I just hope that the agreement that is there now for the community will produce some good commemoration and education. It's probably quite useful to educate about the head tax. It's like the issue involving the Japanese invasion of China, where it would be helpful if they would educate their young people about that.
May I ask another question? Everybody knows that Liberal Party is like immigration friendly, right? They let in many immigrants in Canada. But some also critics about that, saying we let in so many immigrants, but they didn't give them like settlement, good skip on settlement. And lots of people they could have good qualification in their hometown, and they don't have the foreign credential recognition here. So, and the Liberal government has been in power for more than 10 years. And some complain that the Liberal government did not do anything for the foreign credential recognition. What's your opinion?
Well, over Canada's 138 years, I hear immigrants today actually saying, boy, when I came to Canada, you didn't do anything for me. Why are you helping all these immigrants today? But there's these days we realize that economic productivity is a major factor in our well-being. And it is not a good thing to waste skilled labor, skill. So the sooner we can help new Canadians to become integrated and active in the economy and in building their own lives, the better it is for the country. And so that is why we now set aside money for immigration settlement. And 30 years ago we didn't do it very much at all. But we began entering into agreements with provinces to do it because we collaborate with the provinces in doing it. It means language instruction, but it means more than that. And nowadays, we're getting a lot of skilled immigrants who have good credentials. 50 or 100 years ago, we didn't necessarily get a lot of skilled immigrants. We just got immigrants. And they came and they worked hard and they did good. But now we're getting people who are educated with skills. And we're finding those skills get wasted because they come here and either they don't get into a professional body here, they don't get certified, or they try to find a job and the employer says you don't have Canadian experience. And so it takes, every time it takes them a long time to get involved in the economy, to get active, it hurts the country. So the federal government realized this about 10 years ago and began to take steps to facilitate integration. One of the big programs we have is the Language Instruction for New Canadians, LINC, the LINC program. And we have 3 or 4 of them just here in Northeast Scarborough. Language is an important item. Now on the skills side, we have finally opened up a federal office for the purpose of not giving recognition, but developing programming for foreign trained workers. And it's a very complex issue, and it's going to take us a number of years to produce all the results we want. But we're focusing right now on medically trained professionals, doctors and nurses, and the engineers and the lawyers and the others are going to have to wait for the second phase. But what we're trying to do is to have each of the provinces develop a quicker procedure for recognition of the credential and then admission into a professional body. There's 2 steps. And it is very complex and it needs the province to reach an agreement with the federal government. We finally reached an immigration agreement with Ontario 6 months ago. Up to then, we never had one. We had one with Nova Scotia, we had one with Quebec. It's a complex area, but the hope is that within a few years, most foreign-trained professionals will have a mechanism, a place they can go to have their credentials recognized and certified, and then have a procedure that will allow them to gain admission to a professional body. Then they got to get a job. So getting a job is kind of their own personal challenge. But the goal is to help them and to help them do it more quickly. So we'll spend, I think we have $25 million set aside for the federal office, but it will take more money than that over time. So we covered the question reasonably? Okay.
I have a question. Will form another majority government. But in today's Toronto Star, it shows the Conservative Party has surpassed the Liberal Party in the first time. So how do you think this?
In terms of the current polling, you have to remember that it reflects polling data from the holiday period, the Christmas New Year period. And so that was not really a normal campaign period. So it's hard to tell how accurate the current numbers are. But if you come back to me next Monday or Tuesday, those polls will reflect information from today. Okay? So the current numbers are very soft polling numbers from a time when there was not a lot of campaign going on. So my my belief is still the campaign is somewhat where it was, with a bit of a horse race, liberal conservative, and those numbers, you know, if you want to take my view, will shift in the final week to provide greater clarity, greater focus, and I still believe that we will do at least as well in Ontario as we did last time. The Liberals will. We'll have a slight improvement in the prairies. I can't tell what's going to happen in the lower mainland of British Columbia or anywhere else out there. It's because there's often a three-way race, NDP, Conservative, and Liberal out there. Quebec will stay about the same, plus or minus, and Eastern Canada will stay about the same. So my predictions is still about where it was when I spoke to you last time. And I'm probably not the greatest guy to ask about predictions anyway, but that's my current take. And you know, next Monday or Tuesday after the polls start to come in, those polls will be accurate.
So what's your confidence level of winning these elections?
My own personal level, my riding's been very good to me, and I'm really hopeful they'll send me back to Ottawa. But nobody knows until election day. And sorry, Mike. And what was the second part? Shortcoming. Well, it'd be tough for me to acknowledge a shortcoming, but the strongest, I think my strong instructions, I really know our riding. I've been here 17 years, I really know it in all its complexity. It's so complex, it would take me 15 minutes to describe it, but I really know it, and I think my background makes me a very good representative in Ottawa. Most of my voters, I think they know it. However, when you vote in a federal election, you don't just vote for an MP. You also have to pick a party and a prime minister. You got three things: an MP, a party, and a prime minister. But you only get one vote. So obviously not everybody in my riding votes for me. But I've had very high levels of support in the past, and I'm hopeful that my voters will continue that. I've had a very good start, but this is politics. Anything can happen. And if my voters decide they like me, but they don't like my leader, or they don't like my party, or even they don't like me, then they'll vote that way.
Since you have the family name of Lee, do you think you have a competitive advantage for Chinese voters?
Perhaps. I'm really hoping all the Irish Lees will vote for me, and then the Chinese Lees, and then the Korean Lees, and there's some Caribbean Lees too, and some American Lees. So I'm hopeful my name is useful, but it's just a name. My name could be anything. My name could be Smith, or it could be Chen. I'm still the same guy. Gotta get the Mandarin.
Mr. Lee, what's the proportion of Chinese
The Chinese, yes, if it's coming up very well. First of all, the calendar New Year, Happy New Year, and secondly, the Chinese New Year is coming up. So, Xin Nian Kuai Le, Gong Hei Pa Choi, and Happy New Year, Year of the Dog. Yeah, Year of the Dog, and I'm looking forward to that too. Yeah, sure, oh yeah.
It's a lucky one.
Happy New Year.